the president of Taiwan, Tsai Ing-wen. She was at Simi Valley, just not too far from here, met with Kevin McCarthy about the blockade that China was basically ready to, full-blown blockade, ready to step into this reunification campaign. And they ran this mock invasion. It was amazing to see, and I don't mean amazing in a good way, amazing in that they had it all figured out how they're going to do it, and none of it involved any concern that the U.S. would actually even respond to it. That's very telling of how China sees the opportunity to do it now. I think, as Jacob talked about, they're ready to pounce because of the weakness. Macron met with China and the president of China, or the Xi Jinping, and he basically stood on the sideline and said, we're not going to follow America. We're not going to react to all this. I guess it has a lot of money involved in China. But David, what do you think? It's Europe there is basically backing out?
NATO is divided amongst itself. What's to gain here? They got Russia can bring them gas and energy and everything, and we're not doing it. And China is willing to trade goods and service to make everybody whole again. But I don't trust much of NATO to follow us. But then we're not leading anymore. So the thing to be able to follow us is, I don't think we can really do anything. We've talked about before on Catching Up the amount of ammunition that we have. We've given it all to Ukraine. We have maybe a week, 2 weeks worth of ammunition, and then we're done. Well, if China and its enemies have been stockpiling, so they're ready to fight a long war. But it's insane how weak we've got. One of the differences, when I was thinking about what Davey said, is those people that went to World War II, that greatest nation, they loved America. They knew it had warts. They knew it had problems, but they loved it. And they wanted to fight for it, for their children and for their wives and for all this. They were willing to die for it, to lay their life down for their friends and for America and the idea that is America. But today's younger generation, now my generation, I always loved America, but I loved it differently than they did. I saw more warts. I saw more problems, and where we didn't just say yes, sir, and do the job. We questioned authority. And so, but I still love and believe in America, but not like I used to, because I see it's because of bad government, it's falling apart really badly. And then also the generation I see behind me, they don't love America. They think it's a bad place. I think this wokeness that's going through. But when I travel the world, guys, people are still wanting to come here. I don't know how many offers of marriage I've had. I'm truthfully, women want to come here, and they say because it's my destiny for my children. People see it differently when they're out there, and they said, "Yeah, we know you have problems, but we know we can. It's still a good country, And here in Nashville, we have a lot of Egyptians, and they're Christian Egyptians, and I meet them in and around, and they say they faced actual persecution, and they say what they saw is coming here, and privately they say, Americans are being stupid. By what they're doing and what they're going to lose.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Marco, to what David just said, I just wanted to add, we focus a lot on NATO. We focus on what the Europe and the United States are coming up with, but nobody's focusing on the fact that China and Russia now have a very close relationship. And how easy is it for Xi and Putin to get together and say, look, they've deployed most of their strength in Europe. You can do whatever you want on your side of the world, and they're going to be powerless to do anything against you. And when they redeploy, you can do whatever you want in Europe. And both countries, both China and Russia, historically are just going after what they view as a runaway province. China views Taiwan as a strange province that's going to come back. In the same way, Putin views Ukraine as an estranged province that belongs to Russia. So they both have the same goals.
Yeah. Yeah, some kind of reunification methods of bringing Ukraine back. I mean, the reality is, it's true. I mean, the CCP, I mean, it's warped, but the CCP came into China, right, with Mao and the revolutionary, the War Revolution, Boxer Rebellion before, but the revolutionary, the communist revolution, where they imprisoned all the Christians and they took China, the leaders of China, and they went to Taiwan with Chiang Kai-shek. And so ever since then, the CCP is wanting Taiwan back. And in the same way, when Ukraine was independent after the Soviet Union collapsed and all that, they've been wanting it back, because they see it. You're right. They see it as part of Russia, part of the old Soviet Union. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the financial aspect of it. And we talked about earlier, China is selling off treasuries, U.S. treasuries, as it prepares for this blockade. So they're dumping a lot of things that's going to affect the dollar. And then you have the semiconductor chip industry, which is a lot of it. The high-end chips are based in Taiwan. And of all things, Warren Buffett, and he's selling off his stocks of the semiconductor TC, I think it's called Taiwan Semiconductor, TSMC, I think it's called. And it's the biggest one in the world. Yeah, the biggest one in the world. And also Senator Tuberville is putting his options for their put options. So against the company, meaning it's shorting it. David, what do you make of this? Let me ask you two questions. Do you think China will invade Taiwan? And secondly, do you think that's going to lead to a semiconductor chip crisis?
Well, it's not out of the realm of possibilities. Look, there's been a long time of propagandizing the young people in Taiwan that they're Chinese.
Yes.
They're Chinese, that they belong with us. And look, they could easily say, hey, why go to war? Let's reunite,
That's right.
and, so not knowing what it would cost them, but it would keep them out of war. So, sometimes people will just surrender instead of facing war. It's not out of the realm of possibility. Emergency meeting, hey, we'll be back with you in 5 years and we'll do more business in semiconductors with you, do that. But China has long hated the West, from the Opium Wars, from all these things. And when the British ruled the world, they put China under their thumb, and they took Hong Kong, a pearl.
Yes.
And they subjugated them, and that's always been a sore spot in their thinking. So they don't like the West. Russia doesn't like America because, like you said, they want Russia reunited. Some people have said that that was one of the goals of Putin, is a complete reunification of Russia from when they were at their greatest under Peter the Great. That he wants to see that all reunited, and Peter the Great did have a big part in the Crimea and the Ukraine. So
that's right. Way back to that. The other part is the semiconductor crisis, David.
Oh, okay. For that would be a big problem for America, because we're so technology minded. Now, the advancement and the design of all those chips certainly comes from America. And also China, they know they're behind in this. And so they need a Taiwan to be able to make this and then finally to exceed us. So it is in China's interest to not lose those factories. So lot of threatening, saber rattling. Who knows what's going to happen? I pray we don't go to a world war, which could be with conventional weapons that we have can be really bad very quickly. I pray we won't have a limited nuclear war. You know, that's
I read a report, and it's just on the financial side. It was done by, obviously, it was done by a conservative wing of the Republican Party, but it was regarding, nonetheless, it was regarding the semiconductor chips. And what it read, it said that we would suffer if Taiwan is taken by China and we have no access to those high-end chips, that it'll be like a reduction in GDP of about 9 to 10%.
yeah.
within
And-
GDP.
And then combine that with all the AI that's taking jobs away, America would be in depression.
You mentioned depression. They compared it to what happened in 1929, 1930, and I believe it was a drop of 7% at that point. It was a drop of 7%.
Eventually ending at like 33% as it got deeper and deeper. Yeah.
Yeah. So if we're starting at 9%, just for Taiwan to be not have those semiconductor chips, the high end ones, it'll be a 9%. You could imagine down the road what it could lead to. So I don't think it's just something that I think Americans or believers should just ignore. What about the test in North Korea? What about those? It just seems like Kim Jong-un is just continuing to saber rattle. You got problems in South Korea, Japan. Obviously had a crisis. They averted it because it was some kind of a mix-up in terms of where the
Missile was going to land.
going. Yeah. But it sparked evacuation and confusion. It just seems everywhere you look, there's a crisis.
Well, you know, Korea has had a history with Japan. A lot of their women were taken by force to Japan to be serviced for their soldiers as well as used as slaves, basically, in Japan. And some were not even returned till up into the 70s and things like this, if my memory serves me, that they're sending them back. So there's that history there of they don't look. North Korea does not like Japan, you know, and China has the same problem with Japan because of the same sort of thing because of the invasion by the Japanese in World War II. But and also Philippines is now trying to get involved here, and they keep saying China's threatening them, and America, I don't know if is building 3 bases there.
Yes.
And they've beefed up Guam, Anderson Air Force Base, to be able to forward support for the Far East. But one of the things, China's military, its Navy, doesn't have long range operations. But if we were to go into a depression like you talked about, or at least a deep recession, you have to start pulling your forces back.